Good morning. My name is Greg Davigno. Welcome to the Business Council's fourth discussion in our five-part series in BC, building on BC's advantages in the global pursuit of net zero. I'd like to acknowledge this morning that I'm coming to you from the Business Council offices in Vancouver, which are on the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people, specifically the nations of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh. And we thank them and other nations from where you're situated today for the opportunity and privilege to do business on their traditional territory and to advance this conversation we've been having over the last number of months. Our first three events in the ESG series in BC explored the global trends and motivations driving the growing movement towards ESG across sectors of the economy and all sizes and types of businesses, and the shift happening at speed in accessing changing capital and global expectations. Last month, we explored how organizations and businesses are engaging, listening, understanding, and incorporating the perspectives of employees and groups in their communities into their planning and their organization's values, operations, and their supply chains. We also heard directly from global and local investors, climate experts, Indigenous business and community leaders, as well as academics and advisors on their contributions to a path forward that is collaborative and has shared purpose. These speakers described the new imperative for businesses and explored approaches to transparently take action and report on outcomes as it relates to their overall impact from both an environmental and a human and community perspective. We explored the importance of leadership, culture, and the ability of each organization to assess what is uniquely material on their own ESG journey towards meaningful impact and market opportunity, and not greenwashing or virtue signaling. Today, countries, provinces, and companies are rolling out various net zero commitments in the lead up to COP26, which is taking place next month in Glasgow. In fact, just yesterday, YVR, perennially ranked as one of the best airports in North America and indeed the world, announced their plan to accelerate their commitment to be net zero by 2030 from the previous commitment of 2050. So today we're going to explore other opportunities and actions for British Columbia to make meaningful purpose, both here at home and abroad, in a collective effort to shrink our carbon footprint. Our province is home, as we all know, to innovators and leaders, a robust regulatory system, and some of the lowest carbon-intensive natural resource products available anywhere in the world. We have an opportunity to leverage these assets and make an important impact in the global fight against climate change and strengthen BC's brand and economy as a destination for ESG-driven capital, which is looking to make a difference in the world and get a return. Demand for energy or inputs to meet things people and our societies need just don't go away if we simply stop producing and exporting those things from British Columbia. In fact, it goes elsewhere with more emissions. That's called carbon leakage. It doesn't help the climate and it doesn't help our economy. Today, over 3/4 of British Columbia's merchandise exports are comprised of natural resources and the transportation infrastructure. But the transportation infrastructure is vital in getting forest products and commodities like pulp, steelmaking coal, copper, and aluminum, as well as energy like natural gas, hydroelectricity, and soon to be LNG to global markets. Combine these exports, invest at scale in innovation and research, and also pay the highest wages of any sector in our economy, with an impact to communities throughout British Columbia and the local economies that they serve. As exports, they also pay for the things we import as a society and that we need every day, like pharmaceuticals, electric vehicles, smartphones, and the food we rely on to nourish ourselves and our family. But combined, these exports are half the climate-causing GHG intensity of competing jurisdictions' products around the world. An electric vehicle, for example, takes 4 times more copper than a combustion engine. So if you have Highland Valley copper from British Columbia in a Tesla or in a Volt, you're contributing to reducing global climate change, not by driving the vehicle, but also by the inputs in the manufacturing process. That's something that BC can and should be proud of, and only one example of a myriad of opportunities for our export-leading commodities and energy sectors. This is true specifically of LNG, which will be the lowest emitting and most abundant low-cost energy source in the world, which will displace high-emission coal and other carbon-intensive climate-causing energy sources needed in places like Japan, Korea, China, and Malaysia to manufacture the things we buy and import back to Canada in the future. Our technology sector is also moving us forward in British Columbia in these industries and others across the province using digital and connected data innovations, quantum physics and chemistry, and new sensing technologies that are reducing emissions in our home, our work, and manufacturing. We'll hear from landmark BC company today that are producing new lower emission biofuels and one that is pulling carbon from the air. These are just one of myriad examples that we're going to see through a terrific lineup of speakers this morning who are going to explore these ideas and the solutions and provoke our thinking on what bold but deliberate action need to be taken today by industry, government, and citizens to move forward. As we've said, the goal in this series is to understand these trends, identify best practices, and purposely move BC forward at speed in our ESG journey, to seize opportunity, to attract capital as the world rebounds from the pandemic. So today's conversation is going to be a significant contribution to that goal and our final report following the series. Combine these and the efforts of people and firms supported by good policy to attract capital offer that great potential for ESG in BC. So before we hear from my friend Andrew Powell, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that none of this activity in these series would be possible without the incredible support of our engaged members and sponsors. The Business Council specifically is privileged to have members and businesses across BC's economy who are demonstrating true leadership and sustainability while also contributing to a more prosperous province for those who live, work, and invest in BC. I'd like to thank the law firm Bennett Jones and their local managing partner, Radha Kirpan, and her team for stepping up as our lead sponsor and partner in delivering this series. I'd also like to thank Etienne Blusson, the managing partner for Deloitte in British Columbia, and his colleague Andrew Powell for their support and leadership as our presenting partner for today's session. And I'd like to thank all of you and the generous sponsors who have contributed to this series, who you'll see listed here, and we will be advancing through their support and efforts this ESG conversation over the coming months and into the year ahead. And specifically, I'd like to thank Wheaton Precious Metals. All of our events will be carbon neutral, enabling us to purchase offsets to make carbon footprint of our attendees, speakers, and staff time net zero for the series, thanks to Wheaton Precious Metals.